Hey, welcome back. And in this video, we are going to analyze the Do It To It track by Acraze. Super cool track, super short. So hopefully this one won't run too long. Very simple track layout. And what we're going to do is a hook and lift map. Now, a hook and lift map is where we're not really interested in all the details of the track. We're not going to look at every single sound. That would be a one-to-one arrangement map. But in a hook and lift map, what we're interested in is seeing how the hooks develop over time and then how the lifts develop over time. And the lifts are just any sound that will help lift the energy of the track. And so, for example, if you have a 16th note shaker that comes halfway into a drop, that would be an example of a lift because it's lifting the energy, it's making things more excited. And another example would be like a ride. That's a classic lift. An open hat, that's another classic lift. So we're going to be keeping our eye out for those because the way that the hooks develop and the way that the lifts develop, that's how the producer is keeping our interest at throughout the track. Okay, and so that's the point of an arrangement of a hook and lift map, is to get a feel for how to effectively arrange a track, because most of the tracks that we look at with these hook and lift maps or the arrangement analysis are going to be top tracks, because a lot of us maybe aren't DJs, or we don't have the ability to go out and play tracks out to get feedback from the crowd, for example, which is the best thing. And so when we're making tracks and then sending them to labels, the question is, well, if we want to give our track the best chance that we can of performing well in the club and then therefore getting signed by a label and getting played by other DJs, what we have to do is give ourselves the best chance with the arrangement and make sure we have a compelling groove, obviously, and compelling hooks, obviously, but making sure that the groove and the hooks develop in a compelling, interesting, exciting way over time. And studying tracks that do that is obviously the way to go, right? And gleaning what we can from them, and then even better, using them as a reference. But this right now is going to be a purely analytical exercise, okay? Just going to create little MIDI maps and going to write what happens, basically. So let's get started right away. Let's press play. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to go too deep into what's there. So I'm just going to make a generic beat track, and so let's see. So I'm just going to create a little 8-bar clip here, and I'm going to write HP on it because for high pass, because this is a high pass beat right now. Okay, so there's two other sounds that I'm hearing, kind of like atmospheric kind of vocal things. So we have a vox. Let's listen to what's going on. So this is kind of like an delay thing. Okay, I'm going to write Atmos just to kind of label what type of vocal it is. And so we'll color these guys blue here, because that's what I like to color vocals. All right. Now, I'm not sure if this is like a program sound. It sounds like it could be a vocal with a low pass and a kind of high resonance at some point. The do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. So I'm not sure what to call this. I'm just going to call this a low pass, Vox low pass riff, okay, with delay. Okay, and this is kind of an Atmos kind of thing too, so. Could be like a sound design thing too, just something with the low pass filter, but let's actually label where these are, because these are kind of interacting, you know, so. Okay, so these are just playing right around there with some delay, and then this. All right, and we'll create a couple more tracks here. Now, one thing to point out here is look at what's being accented, okay? Obviously, the first start of every 4 bars, and then we're moving up on the second bar. So the important parts of the track are being emphasized. And I'll just kind of map those out. It's so obvious to see, obviously, but here, oh my goodness, here, 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 and here. See that? Because we're getting, and I'm going to make these just a little bit bigger because we're getting 2 kind of accents here. We're getting this guy and we're getting this guy. And then on the 2 here, what I would call P2, we'll get into that probably a little bit later. And then we have something here. And then here on the P4, we've got 2, and then here what I call the P6, and you can just see this is just around the 6th bar of the intro here. We're getting something, but you could just see right away, if you've never observed this before, how structural things are placed in a track. And so I just wanted to point that out right away. And so another thing that we're going to create is an edit map, and I'm not going to really label what's going on. I'm just going to put that there's an edit. And an edit is just something like this, you know, where you take the kick away. Got a little bit of a reverse, which we're going to create 3 effects tracks right now. We're going to do effects accent, we're going to do effects up, and we're going to do effects down. And so these are the 3 effects tracks that I like to create, and they are basically the 3 things that you can do with an effect. So you could basically use I think I'm saying basically a lot, but you can take an up effect, and that's going to create tension. That's going to create anticipation for the future, right? Like a riser, right? Another thing you could do is have a downshifter. Okay, a downshifter settles the energy. It releases tension. Up effects build tension. Downshifters and down effects release tension. They settle the tension. And accent effects, they'll emphasize a particular moment. So a crash is a great example. Or just some kind of big impact is a great example too. So what we have here is a little bit of an up effect as a reverse. All right, and so this is just, sounds like a reverse vocal. So we'll go ahead and just label that. Okay. Now I love little snare fills and just fills in general, so I'm going to actually create a little track for that. So this to me, I might not get it right, but whatever. Sounds like a little bit of an 808 snare fill. Might not be an 808, but it sounds like one to me, and I don't care. I guess I don't have the 808 snare sound perfectly memorized, but when I know I want to use one, it's the sound I am looking for. Okay, anyway. All right, so we get the bass, okay? So we can also start labeling the sections right now. So let's go ahead and draw this in. Let's see. It's so funny because this track basically has everything in like 8-bar segments for the most part. And so when I see this, I think it's 16 bars because in a typical like tech house tracks, like the bass drop here, for example, would be 16 bars. So I look at this and I immediately think, okay, this is 16 bars, but it's actually just 8 because everything in this track happens a lot quicker because it's only like 3 minutes and 50 seconds or something like that. But let's go ahead and drop this in. Okay, just checking something. All right, cool. So this is something that I call a false start. It's interesting that it happens here. Usually a false start will happen after the main build into the main drop. And a false start is just simply what it sounds like, where the drop is obviously starting, but there's other weird things that are going on. And in this case, he's just letting that bass ring out and then the drums come in. And so that's a little bit of a false start. Okay. And one thing that happens with the false start is you'll have the false start and then you'll have some kind of recovery, okay? And so the recovery here is there's kind of like a big ambience hit that happens when the drums finally come in, right here on the clap. So, all right, Did you like that move? But anyway, so that's the false start. And so I'm just going to label that in the edit map. And let's keep on figuring out what hooks are here. Okay, so we have the So let's label that. So this is going to be Vox kind of thing, and just go like this. Now this is there's a lot going on already. Like so. Okay, so we're also getting the up and down melody, which is going to be important throughout the track. Okay, and so this is a melody that is going to build tension. So I'm going to just draw this out. So these are just okay, so I'm just drawing out the way it works. And the reason why I want to do it like this, just so I could see how that the melody is moving. Okay, so similar to what was going on over here, you can see how we're going for 2 bars, it's just playing on 1, and then we're moving up. And so the up and down melody is now taking over that. So we're playing for 1 bars, and then the melody moves up. And we get this kind of up and down. I call it sometimes like a light switch melody, just, you know, where you're flicking the light switch up and down. But basically, this up and down melody just builds tension. And you'll see this actually used in the breaks and later on. And so you can hear there's this vocal that plays right on the downbeat. This Vox chop. So that's kind of like an accent. So I'm going to just kind of put this here because it doesn't happen over here on the 4. That's where the ah vocal comes in. So, you know, a couple things are going on. This one's not playing, but because the up and down melody took over, now we're getting some sounds happening that accent the 2. Okay, so obviously we have 3 sounds playing on the 1, 3 sounds playing on the 4. Now we have 2 sounds playing on the 2, 2 sounds playing on the 6. Okay, as you can see how that's a lift over and above what was going on before. And so I don't know if I'd call these hooks yet. Like maybe the up and down will become a hook, but the main hook's going to be the chorus vocal that comes in. I'm just looking at the layout, looking at the structure. All right. You can see how much the vocals are being used in this track in different ways, not just as a chorus, not just as a vocal, but to create atmosphere and just kind of as to accent important moments in the drop. Okay, what they're called the punks. We'll probably get into that in a little bit, but just notice the structural layout that we have going on already in the intro. Okay, so what else is going on in here? So this is going to be the bass drop. This is the intro. And now we're getting into the first break. So these sirens, they could be up effects. So let's go ahead and put that in. It sounds just, maybe it could also just be like textural, and I'd create a new track for that. But let's just write, put these in up effects for now because they might get louder over time. Okay, so here we have another Vox accent. So I might actually just create a new vocal track for this. So we'll do this Vox downbeat accent. So downbeat. We'll just do Vox, yeah, down accent. That's fine. Now downbeat happens every bar, but this is just happening here and here. And this is also kind of like an atmos. But I'm going to also put that on the accent effects, because that's what it's doing, but I figure I might as well create a vocal channel as well. So it sounds like there might be kind of like a supporting synth that goes under the up and down melody. So we'll do synth support up down melody. And yeah, let's just copy this down. And I'm going to just color this, the synth color there. And I put that question mark because I'm not sure, but it sounds like there's something there. And then besides the sirens, we're also getting risers. Okay. Now you can hear a little bit of a snare roll in there too. So getting the typical build elements here, and this is gaining up. Could be high passing down too. We'll see. Okay, so here we take the kick out. This is a technique that I call weighing anchor. Weigh anchor. It's like a shipping term. It's actually a dumb label for it, but now I can't help but think of it. That's where you take the kick out underneath. Okay, I think the shipping weigh anchor, I think is, yeah, where you actually pull the anchor out of the water from the ship, and so the ship is left just kind of floating. It's not anchored. So it's actually not that bad of an analogy. I thought weighing anchor maybe is when they drop the anchor, but it's actually when they pull it up. And so in a similar way, what you're doing is if you think of the kick as the anchor, you're taking it away. And so now the track is just kind of free floating. It doesn't have that kick anchor. And so it just creates more tension. It creates instability, uncertainty. And so that's what's going on here. Here we have the kick. Goes away. Okay, we don't have that kind of fundamental beat marching along the track. So let's keep on seeing what we do have. And so right here I just wrote tops because it's basically just tops now, and there's no kick. So snare roll keeps coming up, the sirens, the risers. So there's a little bit of a reverse here, and it's just like this reverby vocal thing. So I'm just going to put a reverse right there. Another thing we could do is, actually, yeah, we won't need this. So what we can do is edit this guy and just also add a reverse vox. Okay, and so, and then we have all right, and so is that the same sound that's been used before? Let's see. No, so that's a little bit different. So one thing I want to label here is that the snare is going into 30-second notes. And then it just kind of drops down. I was just seeing if that's a triplet rhythm, but it's just 16th notes. Da, 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 that'd be a triplet. Da, 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 that's 16th. So. All right, and now we get the hook. So all this goes away. Now this is what I call a pipo. All right, pipo stands for pattern interrupt payoff. P-I-P-O. Okay, pattern interrupt. I don't need to write it out. Pattern interrupt is where you have an established pattern, right? So the snare is going, things are kind of rising, and then you interrupt that pattern, and then you pay off the moment. Okay, so the payoff here is obviously the chorus vocal. So the pattern interrupt is when, you know, here we have the pattern established that we're rising up. We've got a snare roll, we got risers. That pattern gets interrupted right here, and then we cut to the payoff vocal. So that's why I called it pipo, pattern interrupt payoff. And anyway, so let's go ahead and type in vox pipo, and this is the chorus line. Okay, so let's just go ahead and draw that in. Cool. So standard fare stuff so far. It's just cool. It's just obviously well-chosen sounds, well-chosen hook, basic groove, and so let's keep going. Drop with it, lean with it, rock with it, snap with it. All my ladies, pop your backs with it. Drop with it, lean with it, rock with it, snap with it. All my ladies, pop your backs with it. Not sure why there's a stuttering going on. All my ladies, pop your backs with it. So I think that was just Ableton's warping algorithms, which is weird because the tempo of the track is 125. I'm on 125, but it's still doing weird things. So I just turned it off because we actually don't need it on. Okay, here we go. All my ladies, pop your backs with it. Drop with it, lean with it, rock with it, snap with it. All right, so here we're getting the chorus over the drop. And we have a big hat lift. So let's do hat, big 909. So, okay, let's put this in. And just to show you, if we come back over to the intro, small little hat. Now we have a big hat. Now I don't know if that is part of the original vocal. You see how she'll have this da. So I don't know if that's part of the original vocal. And so, let's just create a new one, Furby. And then this is still an accent, right? So even the original production, if that was part of the vocal, they had a reason to put it there, just to make those exciting moments on the first bar, the fourth bar, just to emphasize those. Okay, so we'll do like a chorus accent here is what we'll call this. And so I'll just bring this guy over. I'll put it at the 4 as well. Okay. Okay, so I guess here we can talk about punks, because this is just like a classic one right here. So a punk stands for punctuation point, and if you think of like a sentence, you can have like 2 clauses, a comma in the middle, a period at the end. Okay, a period is a more dramatic punctuation mark than a comma. Okay. And then if you have like another sentence at the end, maybe you have an exclamation mark, and an exclamation mark is a more dramatic punctuation mark than a period, than a comma. Okay. And so typically in tracks, what you'll see is you'll have certain moments of the 8-bar sections emphasized. And the really important ones are going to be the 4th bar. Okay. And I call that a punk at the 4th bar, or P4. And another one that's really important, more important than a P4, is a P8. So whatever happens at the 8th bar. And so here we have something that happens at the 8th bar. Okay, there's also a little something that happens at the 4, which is that vocal accent. Check it out. Little accent. Obviously, we also have something on the 1. Okay, but so P4 and P8 are really important, those punks. And then less important are going to be the P6 and the P2. And so while back here we were looking, we see that we have things going on the 2 and the 6. And so here we're just getting that change in the melody, which happens throughout the entire track, and the bass follows along with that. But that changes at the 2, changes back at the 4, changes at the 6. And then here with the ah vocal, we're getting accents on the 2. Okay, so we have something on the 1, have something on the 2, on the 4, on the 6, and then of course we have like some kind of edit, some kind of punk on the 8. Okay, so we're getting a snare roll, and we're getting a little bit of an edit with a high pass on the kick, or on the groove. Okay, and so you can see in this case that the 1 here, okay, that's important. The 4 here is very important because we have 3 sounds accenting the 4. We have a change in the melody. We've got this ah, and we have this ah, okay? And then at the 8, we have a snare roll. And so that kind of basically describes what a punk is. But over here, we get something, I think that's pretty new in the track. That little vocal is weird. I'm not going to actually map that out, but I'm just going to put like a little thing here that says a little bit of an edit, a little bit of a punk. But in this case, we have something on the 1, we've got something on the 4, we got something on the 8, and there's nothing really happening on the 2 or the 6 because we're playing the whole chorus vocal, so we don't need anything there. Okay, people are paying attention to the chorus, so let them pay attention to the chorus, and then give them something exciting at the end of the 8 bars because we're going to play the chorus again. Okay, and let's see. The question now is, if we're going to play the chorus again, is there any kind of lift? Okay, a lift would be like, is there maybe tops that are added? Is there a ride that's added? Is there a shaker that's added? Is there another open hat that's added? Okay, so that's one thing we could look out for. The second thing we could look out for is at the end of 16 bars of the drop, is there a more dramatic punk? So you could think of this guy right here as a period, and then you could ask right here, is this going to be like an exclamation mark, even more dramatic? And that would make more sense, okay, because the P16, okay, would be more dramatic, or should be more dramatic than the P8. So let's see. So here's the P8. So we have a little bit of a cut with a kick, and we have that kind of crazy little vocal. What's over here? All right, so we have a riser, we've got a snare roll, and we've cut out over 2. What is this? One bar? Yeah, 1 bar. So this is a half bar edit. This is a 1 bar edit. So it's a little bit more dramatic. Again, we got the riser and the snare roll over there. And so that's more dramatic than over here, and that makes sense. And so that's the basic idea behind punks, is thinking about the 4 and the 8. What can I put there? Maybe the 2 and the 6, if necessary. In this case, it's not. And then at the 16, for example, something similar to the 8, maybe the P8, but something a little bit more dramatic. And that's exactly what's going on here. And so thinking structurally like that is really important, okay? And because you'll see this in every single track. So let's see what happens. Again, we're looking out now for the lifts. We know that there's a more dramatic punk. That was the second thing we wanted to check, but let's see if there's a lift. And so there is a lift. It's really subtle, but it's just a little bit, it's a little hi-hat. It's just a little bit more of a 16th hat. Subtle. I'm just going to write subtle. Subtle lift. And it's not actually playing 16th notes. Like it's playing a little bit of a pattern. So maybe I'll write pattern. Okay, because it's not just so check it out. So it's going to okay, just make sure that's not over here. So it's not, but it's going so we're getting maybe like a couple extra hits here, okay? And so I just wanted to make a note of that we're getting a little bit of tops closed hat lift. Okay, now I'm hearing some open hat accents on the right-hand side, and I don't know if that happened over here. Let's check. Yeah, so we have one over there. Let's just see if it happens in the beginning. Doesn't? Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so it happens over there. But it happens at an earlier spot over here. So let's see if it comes in over here. Okay, so we actually have some hat accents that come in. So let's actually map those out. Because these are just little things that just lift the energy of the groove. So these happen before the second strong beat. So in a beat, you've got, in a bar, you've got 4 kicks. Okay, right? There's 4 kicks in a bar. That's what 4 to the 4 time signature, 4 to the floor means. But these have different names for them. So the first and the third, those are called strong beats. The second and the fourth, those are called weak beats. So you could think of the claps are the things that accent the weak beats in a groove, okay? And then the first one here, this is called the downbeat. So the downbeat's obviously a strong beat. So we got 2 strong beats, the 1 and the 3. We got 2 weak beats, the 2 and the 4. And then we have the downbeat, which is the first one. Okay, and so what I'm saying here is that the open hat accent is playing on the 8th note before the second strong beat. So check it out. Another way to think about that is it just falls into the 3rd kick. But if you want to be technical, there's a little bit of terminology for you if you want it. If you want it. And so that seems like it's just going to continue. Okay, we got some up effects coming in right there. Let's map that. So that's going to be right here. Just a little bit of a kind of a dark white noise riser. And there's that little musical thing, and I don't know if that plays anywhere else. So that's the first time it played. So I'm just gonna put like synth, musical, synth. Let's just do synth punk. I think this is from the original track. I'm not sure though. Okay, so let's just put that in. Okay, so here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write Pipo on this guy, and I'm going to change this to just the Vox chorus, okay? So there's a little bit of an accent, a white noise accent right here, pretty quick. It actually pans from left to right. So it's pretty short. So I'm just going to write white noise. And then, you know, when I say white noise, it doesn't necessarily need to be white noise. It's just noise. You know, there's probably some EQs on it, but this pans left to right. Okay. Okay, so we need to get the vocal, which is going to be over here, where it goes Okay, I'm going to loop around this so we can get the melody right. So you can see, watch. We got the up-down melody, and that's going to help us transition into the break. I'm going to write LP up on there because it's low passing up. So here I'm just going to put, there's something going on with the up down. I'll figure it out. I'm just maybe just being lazy if I want to create more tracks, but I'm going to write punk on this because this is a P4 punk for the vocal. Okay, here we have another edit, okay, at the end of this section. And okay, we've also got a riser here. All right, let's just get a handle on what hooks are in here. So these are clearly different sounds, like this compared to this. That's definitely a vocal. This might just be that supporting kind of synth. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll put that supporting, and this is going to be low passing up, okay? Because this is not really a vocal. Okay, I want to see what's happened to this Okay, let's see that's over here. Yeah. And what is this guy over here? Okay, is that over here? Oh man, I'm tempted to put this on the synth channel because this doesn't quite sound like a vocal to me. Okay, and then what we could just do is write delay on it. Okay, because it's just kind of delaying out, and they sound similar to me. Doesn't matter if it's technically right, but it's approximately right. Okay. Okay, so you can hear that that reverse reverb vocal, the reverse vocal, and then it verbs out. Okay, so we'll put that on our kind of reverby, the Vox accent verby, and it's an accent effect, so we'll go ahead and put that here. So Vox accent. Okay, so you can definitely hear that synth opening up. Okay, let's see, opens up. Okay, so that synth is actually not there. So okay, we also have a snare roll here. Okay, so this is, we need to put these fills on the right track. So snare roll. Okay, the beat is high pass. We do not have the bass. We do not have the big hats. We don't have any accents. We don't have the 16th pattern. A little bit of a fill right here. So this is a new synth that comes in. I didn't realize how, you know, I'm kind of not thrown off, but I'm kind of thrown off listening to this in more detail, because I've listened to this track a number of times, but now that I'm starting to map it out, I've never really realized how many sounds were in here. And it's not like too many, but there's new things to me. So let's see, synth, and this is just kind of like a resi synth over a Vox accent. So you can hear it going meow. And you can hear the Vox accent now changing. And so this is, well, it's not changing, but it's playing on every bar now, or every 2 bars. Before it was just playing on the 1 and the 4 here. It's not playing here. Okay, it's playing here. That big verby thing, and then it's not playing here. It is playing here. And it's playing now here on the 2. But it's changing melodies just like everything else. So if I duplicate this over, I just want to move this up 1 just to indicate that we're getting a change here. So we're getting a faster, things are speeding up. Right, so now we're getting this every 2 bars rather than every 4 bars. All right, so we basically just have to make sure we've got everything. And let's see, we've got the beat, definitely. Snare rolls coming up. We got the up-down melody and the vocal. We got the verby accents we were just talking about. We've got that synth resi accent. Okay, let's check. We got risers. And I think we do have that supporting synth creeping up. It might be just under here, but we're low passing up. You could hear the filter opening up. All right, and so here, okay, and so another kind of pipo, but very short. So this is going to be 30-second snares, snare roll. Okay, and then it just cuts to with it, and that's part of the chorus. So we could just put a little guy right there, and yeah, let's just cut all this. Is that it? Yeah. So I think he says, dance with it. I think the whole phrase is right here. So I think this is actually repeating. I think he's saying dance with it, dance with it. You can hear the S, the sibilance on the dance with it right here. All right, so let's do this. Let's loop this, okay, and then we'll do dance with it rep. So it just kind of comes up, okay, and then gain up. Okay, so a little bit of a pipo there, and because here we have this big pattern interrupt. And then it cuts, and we cut right to the vocal, the payoff. All right, so let's bring these guys over. And you can hear... So we have that kind of 8-bar downshifter accent effects. Now this is where it can get a little bit murky sometimes, whether to call it an accent or a down effect, because obviously it's accenting it. But it's a downshifter, and that makes sense because this is like that peak energy moment. And so even though we're going into the drop and we're just chilling out for a second, we're settling the energy. It's kind of like a momentum, right? Momentum from the energy at the drop. So I'll just put that on the accent and the downshifter because it's kind of playing both roles. It's kind of settling the energy over time from the peak of the build here, but at the same time it's accenting the start of the drop. All right, let's check everything. We got the beat, bass, the big hat, the accents. So no accents, listen. Okay, never mind. We got them. I just thought they were a little bit louder than they are. So, all right. So I'm pretty much going to copy the entire section over because I'm pretty sure the same. And I call this a sandwich, where the first drop and the second drop are basically the same. And the reason why it's a sandwich is because you could think of like bread, and then there's just the stuff in the middle. And so this is like the bun, this is like the bun, the bread, and this is the stuff in the middle, okay, the main break and build. So this is just like a little sandwich. All right. And yeah, let's see. So we have the accent here, we've got the downshifter, the momentum. Okay, a little bit of an up effect down there, but the exact same punk as before. Okay, remember we were talking about punks? Here we go. Okay. So same thing. So here we're getting hi-hats to bring us back in though. Okay, the hi-hats play through. Over here, the hi-hats don't play through. Okay, the drums cut out there. Is that a big deal? No. Okay, we're getting the hat, the 16th lift. Okay, we're getting that exact same thing. We're getting this sound over here. Okay, same punk. So we have the riser, we have a little bit of a kick cut, we have the fill, and we have the little synth sound. So check it out. So pretty much the same thing. All right, and then we got the chill section. But we don't have, so over here in the first drop, we have the same vocals that start over here. On the backbeats, so right here. And then they kind of delay out, but they play again on the 4. Over here, I don't think we have them. And that's because we're moving towards the outro, and so we're starting to subtract from the arrangement. And so here we just have the little synth. Let's bring this over. Okay, we got our punk though. Probably the same one. Okay, same edit, snare roll. Okay, no riser though. Over here we had one because we're transitioning to the main break and build, but over here we're just transitioning to the outro, so there's not a riser. But over here there's not one. So we have the same kind of do-do-do. Do-do-do, do-do-do, you hear that? Do-do-do, and then right here we have it too, but it's low pass. So that's interesting. I'm going to go see if that happened before. I'm just going to put LP on this for low pass. Let's go back here and see if that's playing. So no, it's not. Just over here. Okay. Okay, so now we're just getting the stuff from the intro here. So, and we're just going to write delay on this again. Is this one delay or is this playing the actual up and down melody? So that's playing the up and down. Okay, so now we're getting the delay. And so you can hear now that these sounds do sound the same to me. It sounds like just continuing and then just with an added delay. Little delay. Again, just a delay. So here we have a reverse vocal, and we've got the fill, a little bit of a fill. So the hat goes away here. So, I mean, this is like the end and no one cares, but I'm just going to write it anyway. So, hat cut. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Okay, cool. Interesting. So simple. The track seems so simple, but I feel like I almost kind of struggled through this one. But let's take a step way back, okay? And let's just look at actually how simple this track is, which is why I really love it. If we look at the drops, okay, let's just map out what's going on in the drops here. So the drops, we got a chorus section, okay, for the A B. So the A B is referring to the 8-bar sections, and so we can imagine this is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay, so for the A B, we're just playing the chorus. Okay, that's it. And then here we just have a chill section that helps us with the Vox Atmos and just one vocal punk. That just helps us transition into and settle the energy into the low part of the track, okay, the bottom of the main break and build. And so this chorus is pretty high energy. Obviously, we're rising up in energy from the first break into the chorus. That plays for 16 bars through the A, B. And then in the C, we have kind of like a cool down section where it's just kind of like where it settles the energy, helps us transition to the low part. Again, I'm just repeating myself, of the main break and build, because that's the low part. Okay, so this just repeats, and that structure is really simple, and then it very simply builds up. Okay, but the thing I really like about this is the use of specific vocals to achieve different energy levels in the track. So here we have let's just map out the different kind of vocals. So we have the chorus vocal here, and this is playing over the drops. So a lot of times, and I find this interesting because a lot of times the chorus is just going to play over the breaks, for example, and then you get like chops and stuff over the drops. But here the full of chorus is playing over 16 bars of both drops. Okay, and then for the rest of the time, what we're using is that up and down melody. Now the up and down melody repeats, right? So da 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 da. And so typically when you're building tension, a typical thing to do is to repeat something, repeat a vocal, take a vocal segment and just start repeating it, because that builds tension, it builds anticipation. But I think that the vocal repetition here, dun, 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 that's part of the original track. So it's not the actual producer, Acraze, creating the vocal rep to build tension. It's just he's importing that from the track. But it's doing the same thing. It's using a repetition to create vocal. And so that up and down melody builds tension. So up and down melody builds tension. And these are the two main things that are going on in the track. We have the up and down melody that plays in the breaks. Then we get the chorus section. Then we have a chill out section. So let's just write like Vox Atmos, because that's really what's going on here. And then we're working back up, building tension again using the up and down melody. Then we go into the chorus again over the drop. And we got the Vox Atmos that helps us transition to the outro. And so to me, I love this track's example of how it uses vocals so effectively, so cleanly. Again, I'm just going to repeat myself here, but using a type of vocal that builds tension where tension needs to be built, okay, in the breaks. The up and down melody repeats, creates tension, and that's being used in the breaks. Awesome, okay? And then we're getting a payoff, a massive payoff with the chorus here, okay? And that's going to be over the drops. And then we're settling the tension. We're taking away the main vocals. We're just kind of creating an atmosphere with these vocal atmos that, again, help us settle the energy. And so those vocal atmospheres help us create that new space that we're going to enter as we get into the build section. And then, of course, the build's using the up and down melody, and it's the same thing. Okay, up and down melody, chorus, payoff, Vox Atmos to transition into the outro. And so that's at the highest level. That's why when I listened to this track, I saw what was going on, and I was like, man, this track is so simple. But then breaking down the little sounds, I tripped over myself because had the illusion that everything is just really simple in this track, but there was some sounds that I had to kind of figure out and work out. But still, I think the overall structure of what's going on, the overall hook development, what hooks are chosen, where they're placed, what they're doing, what role they're serving, what function they're serving, is like really, really, really well done. Okay. Now, one other thing to mention here that you might be noticing is, well, we're getting the chorus section as a pipo here in the first break. And the reason why that works is, number one, it's just cool. Okay, we're building up. We're going to get that pattern interrupt, and we're going to get a pattern interrupt into just like the naked chorus vocal. And why are we doing that? Because you're giving people the full hook of the track so they know it. They know what's coming. And then you're giving it to them again, new context, bigger context over the drop. And so this is basically teaching people what the main hook of the track is before it's presented over the groove. Okay. And so let me quickly go over the sections of a track. So this follows what I call a traditional arrangement. A traditional arrangement is intro, bass drop, break one, hook drop one, hook drop, of course, because we're putting hooks over it, main break and build, MBB, and then hook drop two, HD2, and then outro. So again, intro, bass drop, break one, hook drop one, MBB, hook drop two, outro. So this is a traditional arrangement. Like 90% of tracks, especially top tracks, use this. When you start getting out of like the top 20 of like the charts, you'll start to see more variation in, people get more creative with the arrangements. But the top tracks, 90% of the time, 80% of the time, they'll follow this basic arrangement. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want to talk about the bass drop. The bass drop is where you just drop the bass line, okay? You just teach people the bass line. Now, what you want to do is you want to teach people the bass line before you start throwing hooks on top of it. That's why you have a bass drop. You have a bass drop that teaches the bass line. Now, DJs sometimes won't even play the bass drop. They'll just mix in from the break. But just looking at this from a songwriting kind of point of view, you teach people the bass before you throw the hooks on top. So you got your bass drop, and then you've got your hook drop, okay? The hooks are now you're going to have your hooks on top of the drop. Now, again, the reason why I'm bringing this up is in conjunction with the hook here. So before we get the chorus over the drop, over the groove, okay, before we get the chorus vocal over the groove, we have already learned both of them. That's the point, okay? We've learned the groove right here in the bass drop. We've learned it. And we've learned the chorus in this pipo section right here. So that way, when it comes in on the A of the chorus drop, it already feels familiar. We already know it. Okay, we haven't heard it yet, but we already know it. So immediately, it's just a massive payoff. Okay, and that's what makes it so effective. And that plays twice with a simple little drum lift, a little bit extra energy from faster tops. That's all that's needed. Okay, and then it's done. Okay, so we get that chorus section twice. We love it. We're done. We're ready to just something else to happen. So what else? What's that something else that happens? We settle the energy, and then we move into the build, which uses the up and down melody to build tension, and then that just works up to a little pipo, kind of a little weird mini pipo here. I kind of like it. It's just so straightforward, just building for 16 bars with the up and down melody, using the typical things, snare roll, riser, nothing fancy, cutting to kind of a weird pipo, but it's kind of like a glitch. But anyway, and then it cuts right into the exact same thing, where we get the chorus over 16 bars, the A, B of HT2, and with the same little lift, a little bit of a momentum over from the energy that's created at the peak of the build here. That just kind of carries over. So that's one big difference between HT1 and HT2 is this kind of momentum downshifter. But it's the same thing, okay? Because we want it again. It's like a pop song, okay? You give the chorus actually 3 times typically in a pop song. Although these days, a lot of times you just have the chorus twice. But in a traditional pop song, you get that 3 times. But here we're getting it twice, which is typical in a dance structure. You'll have your drop, break, drop. So, and then finally, same thing. We're just using this C in HD2 to settle the energy. We got a Vox Atmos, and then we just go right into the outro. And so at the highest level, that I just love this track because it's so simple. It's using it's using the rules. It's following the rules. Ooh, this is going to be the first time I ever said this, but I think this all the time, that there's this saying where you want to learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. Now, I think a lot of producers, a lot of artists would find that to be a really cool saying. ooh, I want to break the rules, right? But the thing is, focus on the first part of that quote, okay? Here's the quote again. Follow the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. But again, focus on that first line. Follow the rules like a pro. And what I find is that the top tracks, they do very, very little deviation, and that might bother some people. But that's why they're the top tracks, because they stick to the rules that work. They follow the rules like a pro. And so I like to rewrite that quote. I say, follow the rules like a pro. Wait, what is it? Hold on a second. Yeah. So it's follow the rules like a pro so you can be a pro. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Now that's silly. And of course, I always encourage being creative as much as possible, of course, but presenting hooks over the groove in a structured, clear way, confident way, is really the best way to go. And this track follows that formula, follows the traditional arrangement formula. It follows the rule of building tension with a hook, for example, in the breaks, paying off that tension, settling the energy as you transition into the break, building tension again with that up and down melody, giving you the payoff through the chorus and the first two, the 16, and then settling that energy as we go to the outro. So the energy contour is perfect. But anyway, I think that's enough. I think the only thing I can do from now on is keep repeating what I'm saying here. But if you got any questions, leave them down below. If you got any comments to add to what I'm saying here, let me know down in the comments below too. But that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.